So Christina, you are a legal assistant and you recently founded the San Angelo Professional Paralegal Association. Tell us why you felt like a group like that was needed here in San Angelo.
I did. I felt that there's definitely a need for that in this area. There's a lot of other cities that are offering continuing education for paralegals, and there's a lot of organizations out there such as the National Association of Legal Assistants, which our organization hopes when we start taking dues in to eventually partner with. And we don't really have that in this area. Occasionally a group will pop up and they'll sponsor something when some new platform comes out, like the e-filing system, or Legal Aid actually did a small mixer at Miss Hattie's about 2 years ago, and that was really what launched the Paralegal Association idea, because so many paralegals went to that luncheon and were so excited to be there. And so I actually had another person for Legal Aid who approached me and asked for help in founding an organization because she had seen that I was vastly involved in other areas in this town. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to jump on the board and work with her, and I taught her how to go about the beginning of recruiting in an organization and doing the marketing and putting it all together to set this paralegal organization up. And it took off and she moved away, so then it all became me. But I've been so grateful that I found someone else who immediately wanted to jump on board after I put on our first event. And now we have a meeting that's coming up in probably another week, and it's going to be a board meeting, and I have about 4 to 5 people now who want to be on that board. So we're looking forward to doing that, and we're expanding slowly what we offer. Every year we're adding in an additional event. So this year we had speaker luncheons, and we're going to add in a Christmas party that will mirror that Miss Hattie's one that I went to through Legal Aid. And then next year hopefully we'll add in probably an after work panel and just slowly try and add more events in. And some of the girls in the group, we're having about 20 who are coming to our meeting now, and they're telling me they want more speaker luncheons than we've been offering. So it's going to grow, and there's a need for it, and we're fascinated to have all the support we do from the legal community. The attorneys are very excited about it. They're excited about the speakers and what their assistants are getting to learn, and they're very supportive. And so we're actually seeking sponsorships for our Christmas party, and some of those are already coming in. And so it's just great that the town recognizes the value of needing that organization here and truly seeing paralegal work as a professional career.
Well, and all of us know what attorneys do. What is a paralegal's role, for instance, in your law firm?
We do everything. We take all the direction from the attorney, prepare the documents, put your wills together, put your various suits together, everything, and then the attorney will review that. He's the one who has to sign them. We cannot legally sign, and we also cannot legally offer advice, but we do all the groundwork and preparation and pretty much just assist the attorney in anything that they need to put together. We're doing research too. We are going back and forth in communication with the attorney. We're really working on your case. We're the one who knows the most passionately about your case, and are keeping them up to date with what's going on and deadlines and preparing everything for it.
What do you like about the job?
I think that the paralegal profession is a love or hate profession. People don't really get into legal work, whether you're an attorney or a legal assistant, and sit somewhere in the middle. That doesn't last for more than a year. So you either have to love it or you have to hate it and get out. And so I happen to love it, and I've stayed, and I really like kind of the direction that I'm going in now, where I'm starting to work with a network of other paralegals, and we're kind of taking San Angelo in a different direction on what it has known its legal community as.
And so how did you get into that profession?
I was a journalism major at the University of Texas, and I did a final project my graduating semester where they made us go around and interview different levels of journalists in different careers, so everything from print through broadcast at just different large mediums to smaller publications. And I interviewed about 6 people, and every single one of them was a wonderful interview, and they were very nice to me, but they all begged me to not go into this career and find anything else to do, which was hard because I had been editor of my paper in high school and I was convinced that I was going to be a journalist. But talking to 6 people who just absolutely were begging me to go into anything else, I decided I needed to go in a different direction. And so I was working as a legal clerk at a law firm downtown Austin, and I really enjoyed it. Being so late in my college, about to graduate, I decided I needed to have some experience, and so I went ahead and went the paralegal route, and I was going to do that for about 3 years and then potentially go on to law school. But I landed in a wonderful town and I landed with an amazing boss, and there's just been no reason to leave.
You mentioned that you went to the University of Texas, and you are now the president of the local chapter of the Texas Exes, which is UT's alumna group here in San Angelo. You recently spoke at the state's group leadership conference about the accomplishments of the local chapter. What was it like to be on that platform in front of the state group talking about what's happening here in San Angelo with the local chapter?
It was wonderful alone to go back to the university, and it was the first football game, so it was a wonderful way to kick it off with a conference before, and then they've had a chapter leader breakfast for us that morning, and then football. And so that was wonderful just to be back from that regard. But being able to be in such a room of like-minded people who are all Hook'em fans and are all proud to be there and are doing so much in their communities to further the University of Texas was really inspirational. And we were awarded for the best practices in a year, which is our chapter having put on a pretty good speaker series. We seem to draw a lot of good speakers out to this area because it's not too far away. They can still make it home for dinner, but they feel like they've traveled. And so we have a good group of speakers that we put together every year. And so I got to go and present shortly on how we draw those speakers here and kind of the process we go through in our speaker series. And that was met with a lot of interest. We had chapter members from Dallas coming up and asking me to get in touch to talk about how we go about getting the speakers. And there was someone from Mexico City who got in touch to go over the speaker process. And so it's definitely something that other chapters are wanting to bring back. And so I know that was really inspirational for our group to be awarded.
Well, and in your nomination form, I noted that sort of a feather in your cap, you got UT's athletic director to come to town to speak. How did you go about getting someone of that high profile to come to San Angelo?
We are lucky that we have a lot of members in our chapter who played on the football team at UT. And so to get a speaker of that caliber, you generally have to go about having a connection. And so we kind of decide early on who we would want to bring. This year we're looking between President Finvez or we're looking at Coach Herman. And so we have to find a connection there. Now, a lot of the other speakers, I can send out an email, and sometimes I can get big names who respond to my email and are very gracious on coming down. Like upcoming, we will have the women's athletic director, Chris Plonsky, who's going to come and give a presentation, and that was by email. But someone like Perrin, we have to find a connection to make that work. But it was absolutely wonderful to have him here, and he was so grateful to be here. And there was so much that he had to talk about, and it was actually really interesting hearing about when he got the call to move into that position. He was an attorney, and he called all of his clients, and he's like, I cannot tell you what I have done, but I cannot work your case anymore. So all of his clients were panicked that he'd done something bad, and then they get the news release that he's stepping up into UT for a big position. So it was really great to hear about his journey, and to now have even more of an investment in UT football, if that's even possible, by knowing Perrin.
You are involved in so many different things. You're also the VP of the Young Professionals of San Angelo. Why do you think it's important that young professionals sort of band together and support one another and network with one another?
The Young Professionals is a group in a bunch of other communities, and so you can find it in several other towns. But here in San Angelo, I think it's really unique that we work so closely with the chamber here and have those representatives in it's kind of like a feeding program into the chamber to keep an involvement with local business and networking and communities open. And it's been a pleasure working with that organization. It was a great way to come into town and to meet a bunch of people right off from the start. And then there's just so many networking contacts that I've made through that. A lot of my other positions that I've come on, such as the Texas Exes or the Parks and Rec Board, have come from people knowing me in the young professionals. And so it's just a great way as someone who's under 40 to get out there and get involved in your community. It's a great feeding program for that. And they just do so many important things, having a presence for why it is important for young people to stay in this town and to work in this town. And they really offer a good environment for that.
You mentioned the City Parks and Rec Board, and as the city's public information officer, I have to ask you about that. You're also a graduate of Coastal University, which is a city program. Why do you think more young people aren't more involved and more engaged with their local government?
I honestly just believe we don't really know about what is out there. I know we have these options, and I know they're posted to the city's website, but what it takes is it takes a group, a social group like the young professionals, to be communicating what there is to be involved with here in town. And I also think there's pressure, not thinking you're ready for the position. Maybe you should put in a couple more years of experience before you try to step up to that. And I know the city is really open, and every board that I serve on in this town is so open about wanting to bring young professionals in and work with them. And honestly, in all the different towns that I've lived in and being in college, all these boards and other places, they want young professionals to come on, but you just kind of sit there. In San Angelo, these people engage you. So when you get on these boards, you should be prepared to work, because it's going to happen. They want to hear what you have to talk about, and they want to take you and help you have a dynamic presence in the town. And I think people my age are not aware of that, and they think their voice isn't going to be heard until they're older, or maybe they're a little intimidated by it.
So what about that experience moves you? Why have you gotten involved? Why have you gotten engaged? Why are you maybe different than some of your peers?
I have always been highly involved. In college, I joined a sorority, and I was vice president of recruitment my second semester of my freshman year after initiation, and then I went the next year into vice president of new member education, and then I went into president, and then recruited my national organization to come down and try and revitalize our chapter. So when my presidency came to an end, I actually stepped out, and at UT we have these groups called spirit groups, and that's a parallel kind of to a sorority. And I had never been able to do that because I had been so involved in my chapter and hadn't had the time. So the last semester of my senior year, I said, okay, I don't have a position in the sorority because I'm graduating, and so I might as well just start a spirit group. And so I founded the Texas Royals, which is in honor of Coach Daryl K. Royal, and put their entire mission and organization together and connected them with the Alzheimer's Daryl K. Royal Foundation out of Dallas, and got them as a philanthropy, and recruited about, I believe, 61 people that last semester, and then was able to get the whole foundation of that together and then graduate and leave that to be a successful organization. So being involved is just always something that has come to me. I can't not be involved, and so I'm just always looking for good opportunities to give back and to serve.
And one of the interesting things about that, you form a spirit group to help a charity, and it's named after UT's football coach. And now you have that sort of branches of that sort of sprouting up on some other Texas campuses that are rivals to UT, A&M and I believe Texas Tech?
Yes, A&M came in the year after Royals founded, and they called themselves A&M Royals, and were never going to tell us anything about them starting up. And so being a Facebook stalker, I happened to come across their organization. I was like, well, I'm so excited that they're there, but you're not going to get away with using my idea. And you know what, let's take this and bring us together and create this idea of sister chapters, which, as far as I know, does not happen in the spirit group community. It's pretty unique to UT, and if it's on other campuses, it's much smaller, and they're definitely not connected. So we jumped in with the Aggie Royals really quickly, quickly and put those together. And then there's been some interest in some other campuses that are coming in the future. Tech is in process right now. Baylor was in process, but we're having a little issue with their student organization. Department is not used to this spirit idea, and so we're working with them and trying to find someone who wants to go through that process at Baylor. But it's definitely growing, and there's a huge interest. And a lot of my friends who graduated from other campuses are sending their graduates from their churches and stuff to those campuses, and they're talking to them about joining Royals. So it's really nice for myself to be able to go back on campus and have left a legacy. And I'm also leaving a legacy from San Angelo, being president of the Texas Exes. So I've kept my tie to UT pretty strong.
You know, one of your YPSA peers who nominated you for this honor said that she considers you to be a role model. Do you consider yourself to be a role model to some of your peers?
When you look at my definition of what I think a leader is, I look at it as a servant position, a stewardship position that is divinely appointed and is neither deserved nor earned. And so I can see how she would call me a role model, but that's never what I'm striving to be. I'm striving to serve and then to find people who have talents and who have their own callings and inspire those and encourage them to start using them so that they can in turn be servants and good stewards as well.
So talk about a leader who has influenced and impacted you.
I would say that someone who has inspired and impacted me in my leadership journey would actually be my dad, who is a pastor. It has always been inspirational to watch how he goes about leading his congregation. He does it very much from a servant position. And when I was growing up, it was always extremely irritating to me that he would be the last one in line for a potluck meal, no matter how many congregants tried to get him to go through. And I was slightly annoyed by that and did not really understand what he was trying to teach me at the time. And it took a lot of years of experience and a lot of growth and a lot of redefining what leadership was to me in order to come to the understanding of what he was trying to model for me.
So it sounds like your idea at the time was the leader should be at the front of the line, whereas he was trying to teach you leaders put others before themselves.
I think I saw leadership in a way that more people in society see leadership, which is the head, which is the person who's in charge. It's a position of power, it's earned. And I realized after being in college and going through the different organizations that I did there that that's not what a leader is when I really started turning back to the example that my dad had set for me and the example of being a steward, of not coming to be served, but coming to serve others.
You are our youngest 20 under 40 honoree this year. What are your aspirations? What do you hope the future holds for you?
I'm just hoping to find a continued growth in San Angelo. This is such a loving and warm community. I've lived in several towns being a preacher's daughter, and I never really felt like I was from there. And I tell everyone who I know that I feel like I'm from here, and I've only been here for about 4.5 years, and I quickly felt like I was from here, maybe a year in. And so this is a community I want to be vastly involved in, and I want to give back because they've made it feel like home.
Well, and I was going to ask you, I know you're a huge cheerleader of San Angelo, and people say, you know, Christina has wanted me to come visit because she's boasted about how great San Angelo is, and I come and visit and find out that she's right, and she introduces me to things I didn't even know were here. What is it about this community that moves you?
This is such a local community. I've lived in small towns before, but I really considered them more focused on change, whereas here you have your local restaurants, you have your local shopping, and we have our chains, but we don't focus on that as much. There's such an interaction with the local community, and when you go to the restaurant or you go out shopping, you know those people, you know them from church, you know them from an organization you're in. It's a really personal attachment here in San Angelo. And then there are so many things in this town that other towns just don't have, like our international water lily collection or the prairie dogs that we're trying hard to remove and rehome. But there's just so many different venues to go visit here. The steamboat that is out on the lake to ride. These are a lot of experiences that people just don't get in other towns. And so when I have friends who I convince to come in, they're always telling me like, I don't understand why you're there. And then I bring them to San Angelo and I set up a whole tour schedule and I take them out and I take them to the lake to ride the steamboat. And at the end of the day, they're going back and they're like, man, I wish I could be from San Angelo because I completely understand why you live there now.
Christina, it's a huge honor to be one of the 20 under 40s. Congratulations.
Thank you.